There are lots of different aspects of D&D to enjoy, and plenty of reasons to play. But both as a player and a DM, from my experience, one of the main things that players enjoy is having their characters do cool things. So here are a few ways that I like to ensure my players feel like epic heroes or villains. When they enter a tavern, have it so that the bards, the musicians performing, run over to them and ask them if they can create songs about them, or run a song that they've made by them, certain lyrics, asking for some input maybe. You could have the people at the bar, the tavern, ordering them a drink or food, or cheering as they enter. You could have people running up to them asking for autographs, wanting them to sign various bits of paper, armour, maybe some tokens, trinkets they have, whatever it is. I like doing that particularly with young children that are really excitable and like recounting things that your party have done and saying how cool it is, and it's like, oh, is it true that you can do these spells and stuff like that. Something that I quite like to do when I do this is mention things that your party either hasn't done entirely, or the details they're recounting aren't quite correct, and then it's a little sort of role play moment for your players to, do they like roll with it, or do they go, oh, actually it was this, and like correct them. It's also a good opportunity as a DM to sort of introduce what other groups are doing. So, like, if these people are running up to your players and being like, "Oh yeah, we heard about that time that you ran off and fought that worm in the cave," I don't know, and the party's like, "We haven't done that." That sort of piques their interest. Of, oh, hang on, maybe there are other groups doing things, and what are they doing, and why are we getting confused with them? So it'd be a good way to sort of drop that in, and then you could give them a fan club, group of just regular citizens who take it upon themselves to help your players, give them advice, look after their things, get them loose ends, suggest things that they could go off and do. How effective they are is up to you. I find this is sort of up to the DM's discretion, whether your players would find this enjoyable, having these bumbling fools kind of get in their way and get in the get in the way of them doing things. Would your players find that entertaining or frustrating? That's really up to you to decide, but it's quite fun to do. You could have it where wealthy people invite them to as guests of honour to tournaments that they're holding, or important meetings, or their parties like masquerade balls, things like that. And you could coincide that with your party being given quests and adventures with a sort of wider impact on the setting, sort of making them feel a bit more involved in the setting. And it's a good way of introducing, these events are a good way of introducing NPCs for your setting in a pretty organic way. And maybe you could have it where there are rumours of potential upcoming wars or conflicts on borders, scandals in courts hinting at more underlying, more insidious threats. It's just a good way for you to get your players feeling like they're sort of a bit more in touch with the politics side of things, and just have their finger on the pulse as to what's going on in the setting as a whole, to sort of be a good way for you to kind of introduce your potential big bad and what they're doing. Things like that. You could also use it as an opportunity to introduce wealthy patrons for your party. Personally, since reading through Tasha's Cauldron, I really like introducing group patrons just to help unify the party and give them some kind of direction to go in, and some drive, some sort of key NPC to report back to and talk to. After your party saves a particular town or village, the local leader could erect a statue in their honour. You could have the players have some input, some design thoughts on what the statues look like. You could have it where a building's named after them, or maybe a local cuisine, a special dish is created for them and named in their honour. Another spin you could have is a toy maker coming up and saying, either endorsing the players for these action figures that they're creating about their players, about their characters, sorry, You could again have the characters put their creative input to the toy maker. I found as a DM this in particular is quite useful to get a beat on what your players like the most about their characters aesthetically and how they like them being portrayed. So quite a useful little note to yourself if you do that. By doing this, by having these places erect these statues and name these buildings and dishes and drinks and whatever after your party, it makes your party far more likely to be invested in that location, so that you can later on down the line use it as leverage for certain plot points. Maybe instead of a random village that they've kind of heard of being destroyed or attacked, it's like, oh no, the village where they've made like a bunch of our statues and stuff is being attacked. Suddenly that sort of more tangible link your players have to that location, the more interested and invested they'll be of like protecting it and looking after it, that sort of thing. And sort of tying into my last point, you could have it where that particular town or village throw a party for your players. They throw a celebration in their honor of them saving them from whatever evil it was, and then you could, off the back of that, or instead of, have your party be honorary members on the local council, something like that. And that's another, again, yeah, like I said, tying into previous point, another way of organically introducing these more influential NPCs, and again getting your characters a bit more in tune with what's going on in the setting to a wider scale. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing, and see you next time.